Hey everyone, George, the Disney Italiano, coming to you back in studio. But this time, I'm not alone. I got a very good friend with me. We got Mr. Ranking the Mouse. How you doing today, sir?
What's up, George? Good to see you, man. Good to be here in your studio too. Your new channel has so much in the park stuff that it's fun to be in the studio. I'm really excited, and yeah, we got to hang out. What was that? A couple weeks ago over in Florida, so it's fun to be talking virtually, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it was really cool because yeah, we bumped into each other at Epic Universe. Because it's funny that whole day, like I was hearing my name being called. There was like several people that recognized me, and I'm like, okay, George is like a common name, but yet it's not in a sense.
Right.
So I'm like, are they calling me? So, and it's like, and then I recognized your voice and I thought, that sounds like Shaun. And then I looked over, I'm like, oh, it is Shaun. It's like,
Yeah,
because
that's
you were
awesome. Yeah, I was in waiting for Toothless with my wife, and
yeah.
we
Oh,
saw. I think I saw Abby first, and I was like, "Oh, George must not be far behind." But you
yeah.
guys were walking. I think were you walking towards the theater?
We were walking towards the theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of that, the Toothless meet and greet, I tell you what, like, that was like Universal's version of meeting Mickey Mouse for the
Hmm.
first time. I mean, I absolutely loved the interaction between with Hiccup, introducing you to Toothless and how to approach him and how to pet him and everything. I thought that was really cool. The line for it was like about 45, 50 minutes long. It was actually longer than some of the rides.
Yep. Yep, yeah. On opening day, which I know you had to miss, unfortunately, George, with your health scare. Glad you were still able to go that trip, but that was the only thing that had to wait longer than like 20 minutes, and it was like you said, 45 to an hour all day long. This is clearly their number one meet and greet, and Universal has so many good meet and greets with Shrek and Donkey, and Donkey Kong now, and all the Super Nintendo World characters. This was the number one at the park, and I think this is going to be their number one for a while. So yeah, I'm excited that they have it. I'm excited for people to get to experience it. My only complaint is I wish the queue was like indoors or something because that's a long wait when you're waiting for Toothless.
Yes, it is. And especially now with the summer months coming up, like with June, July. Well, we're in June now, but July and August, Florida weather is only going to get more brutal.
Oh
Um,
man,
so
you're
yes,
right.
I definitely agree
You're
with you.
right.
But I do agree with you. I love how Universal is kind of getting their own niche with like these character meet and greets, as you mentioned, like with Shrek and Donkey and Donkey Kong, and they also did Yoshi for Fan Fest in
Yep.
Universal Hollywood. So I do love like how Universal is starting to kind of come into their own with their the specialty character meet and greets for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Universal Hollywood, as you know, George, you go a lot. That's always been their thing, but it's always been more low key. Like they have like Frankenstein walking around and like Scooby Doo and the gang, but it's never like a big advertised thing. It's always more like an organic thing. And so yeah, they've been killing it for a long time, and this is just more proof that people want to wait. As you said at FanFest nights, those Yoshi waits had hour-long waits when everything else in the park was walk-on. So Universal's killing it, and I think that they know that, and hopefully they keep doing it as they are.
Oh yeah, I tell you that Yoshi meet and greet that was like Def Jam meeting like track meet because it was like everyone was like standing there like waiting,
Yeah.
and it was like, as soon as they opened the lineup, it was like rush, like everyone was like in, and it was like
Which
it
color
was,
did you meet?
we just got to see just the original green
Oh, okay. Yeah, the one
Yoshi. We
downstairs.
we wanted to see the other ones, but I know we had to do the egg hunt kind of thing, which we wanted to
Yeah.
do, but it just didn't fall into our schedule. But I really, really enjoyed FanFest. Honestly, I think they gave Disney a run for their money when it comes to the after hours events for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, the egg hunt thing was more time consuming than I thought and not quite as enjoyable because a lot of the TMs in the land, like it was clearly like separate TMs that were doing that. And so they couldn't even really help. They were like, I don't know where that stuff is. And they're being serious. So it was definitely like not the most ideal thing there. But yeah, to your point, George, I know you and OG have a couple reviews on it online. Like just an incredible event. I mean, just Hill Valley by itself would probably have been worth the price of admission, but then you had multiple other houses and just like the vibes there that you and OG had talked about too. Like the vibes were just like, it just felt like completely something different that like no one had ever done before. So yeah, they knocked it out of the park, especially with the price, with how low the price was. It's hard to have a bad day with that price.
And especially too, like if you purchase a ticket like in park, you get that discount. It was only like if you just wanted the general base ticket, it was $49.
Wow.
I mean, you
That's
can't beat that.
crazy.
You cannot beat that. And
$49 for what, like 7 hours of like unique entertainment?
yeah, literally. And then as I do agree with you with the Back to the Future, I think what was so unique was not even just that they were able to replicate the scenes from the movie, but it was the fact that they did it on the soil where they filmed
Oh,
back in the 80s. And I think that was just immaculate of what they did. I hope that they bring Back to the Future back. No pun intended. I believe that they are because I did the survey and it kind of made it seem like everybody was there for Back to the Future. But if they when they do bring it back, I would love to see Hill Valley 2015 from
yeah.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool.
I wonder if they could just keep going back and forth each year, George, where they do like, next year they do 20 and then they go back and do the original one. And then maybe if we ever get, I don't really know if I want this, but if we ever get like a remake or something, they can do that. So yeah, the possibilities are endless with that, but you're right that it just gives me chills. Like even hearing you talk about it, that the fact that like, that's where it was actually filmed. It's just, it felt surreal being there. And then just knowing the history was even crazier. And like, just watching the entertainment play out like this feels so real. It's like walking through Cars Land for the first time. It like just felt like you were in the movie all of a sudden. It was crazy.
And it was like so much going on because you had like the movie moments where uh Biff is confronting um Marty McFly, and George and everything, like getting ready for the school dance. They had the band playing. You can meet Einstein, which we did. I thought that was really cool. It was like so much going on, but I mean, it just meshed so well. My only critique that I did put this in the survey that I think Universal should kind of up the game a little bit was I would have the performers mic'd because if
Yes.
you're standing in a certain position where you're farther back, you can't necessarily hear what they're saying.
Yeah, totally agree, George. And the first time that I was there, like when because I think it's like a 40-minute long or 45-minute long like scene that plays out throughout the whole land. When I was first there, it just felt like too chaotic and like almost stressful because you want to hit all those beats and see it all. But then once that was over and I was there for the second time, I was like, oh, this isn't that stressful. I can go here if I want to see that or go over there. But you're right. If they had mics, it would make it way less stressful because then it would still be organic, but you wouldn't feel like you need to be the first one up front. Like I think it's the fight or one of the scenes over, on the street. It's just like, if you're not right up front, you can't see anything. It's a little easier when they're at the courthouse or the band, but still not super easy. So you're right. Mics would be perfect for that. I wonder if there's some sound issue because they're on the lot. I don't know. That's just speculation, but that would be a great addition.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we kind of started out with a bang, but I wanted to actually introduce to the fact of what this particular show is going to be all about, and like it's with everything that's going on with the theme park industry right now, whether it's with Disney or Universal, as we were just talking about it with FanFest and the character meet and greets and everything. And this is just, and our mutual friend Slimer puts it so eloquently, and that's why I kind of use this for the title. And it's like, this is the best time to be a theme park enthusiast.
Yep.
And I think there just is so much going on right now between Disney and Universal specifically that it's like, and that's the thing that frustrates me with the theme park community. It's like, well, you only have to be a Disney lover and you have to hate Universal and vice versa. It's like, can't we just enjoy it all for what it's worth?
Amen.
So I thought this would be a great topic for us to discuss and kind of go over the recent announcements that was announced and kind of you give your take on it because we haven't really discussed about it yet. So
yeah, I'm glad you're doing this, George, too, because it's just needed in this environment. I mean, there's so many people that are covering the latest stuff and are excited about it, which is great. But then like once that new thing is over and they have to, I don't blame them, but they move on to the next new thing. Then it's like, okay, well, that new thing that just happened is already like not being talked about as much as it should. And so, yeah, I think it's a great topic because like I had a tweet the other day talking about all the, new things coming to Disney parks and it got some traction. And I got like so many negative tweets of like, oh, you're just shilling for this big company or like half this stuff's not that good. And I'm just like, this is our passion. Like, are we supposed to hate, just hate everything about our passion? It's like, it's like people that have a sports team and they just hate everything their sports team does, even when they're successful. It's like, why do you even watch them then? So I don't even know why some of these people are theme park fans. Like I get nostalgia is important and it is a good factor in a theme park. But like,
At
just
the
like the
end of the
title of
day,
this
isn't it
episode is,
supposed to be
there's
there
never
for
been a
us to
better time
go?
to be a theme park fan.
Exactly. And isn't it the whole goal is just for us to go and be immersed and escape
Mhm.
from reality and just to have fun? Like, does it always have to be some sort of like label attached to it for controversy? Like,
Yeah,
I
seriously.
just don't get it.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
right. Like I would do anything, George, to go back to 1955 and experience Disneyland on its first day. Like that would be so magical for me. But at the same time, like, do I want that as my park year round? No. Like that, there was like 2 rides that I would want to do. Like, yeah, for nostalgia's sake and history's sake, it looked amazing. But is Disneyland a better park now? 1/5 of Disneyland is a better park now than it was in 1955, and that's how Walt wanted it to be, and that's just the reality of the situation. And so I think it's easy to take for granted, like just for the example of Disneyland, like, oh yeah, we have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge now, but like that's crazy to like even think like we have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at what was already the best theme park in the world. So just pretty crazy, and I love that you're doing this topic because it needs to be talked about more.
Well, thank you. Yes, absolutely. And to your point with Galaxy's Edge, that's even going a little bit further, like even from 1955. It's like go to 1977 when the first movie premiered. Did
Mm-hmm.
anybody ever think that that was going to be a global phenomenon film? And
Yeah.
then many decades later, it's going to be put in the OG theme park of
Right.
Disneyland. Like, I
Yep.
mean, it's wild to me. But
Yeah, think how
speaking
many super fans Star Wars had, and like for 40 years, they never thought that they'd be able to walk through or even like for Harry Potter, like how many super fans as kids that they never dreamed that they'd be able to walk through that in real life. And now that it's a real thing, and yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, speaking of Disneyland, with the recent announcements, or I guess they were already announced, but it's more so the recent announcements that confirmed of where Avatar and Coco are going into DCA, which we kind of already had speculation that that's where these were going, but it was just kind of solidified by Disney saying, "Yep, this is where they're
Mhm.
going." What's your thought process behind it? Are you okay with the placement of where Avatar and Coco are going? Do you have concerns? What's your overall take on that?
Yeah, I definitely have some minor concerns, but they're dwarfed by like the excitement. And I think that for Avatar, I would say like we were probably like 85 to 90% sure that's where it was going, but there were still some people that thought Grizzly Peak Airfield. I never thought that was a possibility. That didn't make any sense to me, but some people thought that. And then other people, me included, thought maybe Symbolot, the Disneyland Forward
Mhm.
expansion. But that still seemed unrealistic, even though that's what I was hoping for, just for like thematic immersion sake. But yeah, I think we all thought Hollywoodland. As for Coco, we definitely figured that area, but I feel like I didn't really see too many people talking about the fact that it's going to be in that like parade route between the two lands. Cause I just don't think anybody thought there was enough like spots there, like square footage there to fit a show building. So that's really exciting. I mean, personally, George, you know me, I wish Goofy Sky School was getting the axe for Coco, but I'll
Yeah.
keep it up if it means we're not losing anything else. So yeah, I'd say like 90% excitement. For Coco, that's 100% perfect to me. I am worried about for Avatar. I am worried about the thematic fit of that because I know that they're probably gonna, make it like you're going through Hollywood and like into Avatar. And like you and OG have already talked about, George, we don't know what these new movies are going to be. The Avatar 3 and 4 and 5
Mhm.
that are coming out, basically like the next 3 years, 4 years. So yeah, so there could be connections there. So I wouldn't say I'm like super worried. Just I guess skeptical might be the best word. Like, oh, how are they going to make this fit thematically? But besides thematic, I think it's a perfect area because that's such an underused area. It's way bigger than people think. And it's just super underused. All you have there is like a bar and then obviously, Monsters Inc. and then like a stage that's only used for like high school bands. Like they can find other spots for that. So yeah, I'm super excited. I hope we don't lose the parade if Coco replaces that. But I don't. I would assume they could find another spot for parade building. So yeah, I would say like 90% excitement.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. It's more so I'm excited to know that we finally got confirmation from Disney of where these are going, and without a doubt, there's definitely enough space for them to fit these projects. But it's just how they're going to incorporate the transition specifically for Avatar, but even also for Coco, because even though it'll fit in with the Pixar theme, I'm very curious to see how creative they get when you have to go through the entranceway, which is now where the parade route is, and
Right.
you basically have to make an L shape that it's going to
Right.
circle you back to go behind the Incredicoaster. I'm very curious to see, like, is it going to be just a normal pathway? Is it going to be a little Mexican village that they're going to tie to it? I kind of hope that would be the case. I would love for them to tie in a little Mexican village with the ride itself.
Yeah, that could either be a huge W or a huge L, George. If they just make it like,
No
some
pun
ugly
intended.
switchbacks like Storybook Land canal boats or something, I mean, that would be like borderline terrible because it just looks so ugly. Or if they do what you're talking about, like make it an elite queue, like if they use like Indiana Jones as an example, where, the queue is incredible, but it was also like mandatory, or Haunted Mansion, or like they had to get you, somewhere far away. I don't think we've really seen that at DCA yet because they haven't needed to do that with any queues. So yeah, I hope you're right that they do that we get this like elaborate, like indoor, almost borderline, like almost like a walkthrough in a way. Like obviously it's a queue to get in, but like how I view Forbidden Journey, like I don't really like that ride, but I think the queue is incredible. So I use the queue as like an expansion of the land, so to say. So that could be that with Coco, where the queue is so good that you can just walk through it and be amazed. That
I
would be
would
incredible. I hope they don't cheap out, but you never
Yeah,
know.
I hope so too. I would love for them to kind of go what you said, like the Indiana Jones route, and maybe kind of take us like in an underground tunnel to come up.
Mm,
And you start out in the Mexican village where Miguel's family lives and everything, and it transitions you to cross over the bridge into
wow,
the land of the dead.
that'd be
Like
incredible.
that would be like the perfect way to like start that ride.
That
I
would be
think
incredible.
also
And I wonder if they could use that to like leverage not disrupting backstage flow too much, where like if they need to get around a road somehow, or like, a cast member like walking path to backstage, they could either have us go over underneath that and build a berm around, the queue, or even just make it fully enclosed. That would be incredible, George. And then you wouldn't even really know that you're behind Incredicoaster because yeah, the queue is so immersive. So I love that idea. And I think it'd be incredible. I do think the facade is going to be fantastic too, because that's kind of a dead area. Like, obviously now you have the emotional whirlwind ride, but even that, like, it kind of feels like a dead spot when you're walking through that area underneath Incredicoaster, and then when you walk past like Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta. So putting a facade there, like, that's gonna bring a lot of energy and just fill that like area really well.
absolutely. I completely 100% agree with you on all that. Now, sticking on to DCA, they already had, construction movement, obviously, to expand the Avengers campus portion with Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab, and which is basically going to double the size of the land, which I think obviously we would need it because as we kind of take our P's and Q's from Bricky, we call it Avengers Hallway because that's
Yeah.
exactly what it feels like. Um, what's your take on the expansion of Avengers Campus? Do you also feel with that when it's completed, do you think we'll be getting a lot of the entertainment back, or do you think that was pretty much the nail in the coffin for that? And could you even see even more further Marvel expansion presence in DCA, possibly the removal of the Hyperion Theater?
Yeah, the entertainment question is a good one, George, and I really don't have an answer for that. I hope that we get that entertainment back, because that's what, a lot of people are mixed on Avengers Campus, and rightfully so, but what everyone agrees upon is the entertainment is incredible, and including like the walk around characters. So yeah, I hope we don't lose that, George. We've been like losing the Doctor Strange show. I didn't really love that show, but like just having it as an option was incredible and added so much lore to the land. So we'll see. I feel like the jury's still out on that. As for expansion, I think definitely. I think the fact that we got confirmation that the Hyperion Theater will not be a part of Avatar, but we don't like. There's still no confirmation of a show. And the last time we did get a show there, everyone was excited for it, and it was only around for like the summer. So I feel like that theater is probably gone. I just, as much as I want a show there, it takes up so much space, and like a show of that production really is super expensive. Like we're talking like tens of thousands, of hundreds of thousands of dollars per week for shows, running shows like that. So I get why that might not be a big sell for DCA, and they're clearly still selling the park out without it. So yeah, if we got an expansion there, like maybe, a sit down like dining, because we only have Pim's Test Kitchen, and that doesn't even really have that much seating. It has no indoor seating. So maybe if we got a sit down restaurant and then maybe like a mini theater for an Avengers show, like, but not like a campy show, like I don't know, like something from one of the cruises, George. I know you guys were just on the Magic, so something like that, would be awesome. That might take a while, but I feel like Avengers Campus is going to keep expanding because Marvel is one of Disney's biggest brands right now, alongside Star Wars and Pixar and the OG Disney stuff. And they can't put Marvel in Florida right now, so I feel like this is the future for sure. Avengers Campus.
Absolutely. Would you be okay with even the change to Downtown Disney, that eventually, like if they were to put a grand theater in Downtown Disney and kind of did like an upcharge kind of thing like they do with Cirque du Soleil at Disney Springs, because that way you get your Broadway style show, but then Disney is also capitalizing on that, where they're actually making the money back.
George, that's a genius idea. I think they should absolutely do that. And I think that they could do it where, and I know that Universal had this idea for Epic Universe, so I'm kind of stealing from them, but where you have an entrance from Disney Springs or Downtown Disney, sorry, but then you also have an entrance from the theme park side. And maybe they find some way to, I don't know how they would do it, but have some upcharge. Like if you're going to enter from the park, it's like whatever, $20 add on to your ticket, and you can buy this before your trip or add it on as a package, whatever. Or if you want to go through Disney Springs, it's maybe $40 or whatever. I keep saying Disney Springs, Downtown Disney, you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe it's $40 or whatever. I don't know. I'm throwing out numbers, but I think that idea that you have is genius, George. And that would, like you said, scratch the itch of a Broadway show, because it really was cool to have a Broadway style show in Disneyland Resort, especially with how like landlocked it is. And then you also scratch the itch of not needing that space inside the theme park. Downtown Disney has so much space. I mean, put it where the AMC theater was, where that fifth hotel was, or the fourth hotel was supposed to go, or put it wherever. Put it in the Rainforest Cafe building or the ESPN zone. Like, put it anywhere like that, and I love that idea.
Awesome. And as far as the attractions go with Infinity Defense and Star Flight Lab, I know with Infinity Defense, we've been waiting over 6 years, on this thing, and it keeps on changing. For obvious reasons, I think the concept for it just came at a very bad time, like right on the brink of with COVID and the shutdowns and what have you. But now that we're finally like trying to come to to see the light on the end of the tunnel for this attraction, are you excited for it, or is it kind of like you're kind of over it? It's like you'll just see how it is. Do you think it's even relevant anymore for them to even use Thanos as like the main antagonist? I mean, now that we're, as you mentioned earlier, Marvel is now become like so big for Disney, and we're moving forward with Fantastic Four and probably soon to be X-Men. Do you think with Thanos, with that being like the end villain of Endgame, do you think that it's not really going to hold as much relevance?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a concern. Usually with films, I am not one to say or to be worried about it losing its relevance, because great films transcend that. But with MCU, it's getting so big that I don't really feel like the older movies are still like transcendent. I mean, they are in a way, because Endgame and Infinity War are so good that they'll always be transcendent. But like the bigger the MCU gets, the more like small each entry becomes. Like when there was only 5 movies, Iron Man was one of the greatest movies of all time, or one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Mm-hmm. But now Iron Man's like not even in the top 5 or 10 for MCU, because it's just getting lost in the shuffle. And so that does make me concerned. I think Thanos is, everyone knows Thanos and everyone loves Thanos, but like in 15 years, if this ride's not going to be open for another, even be optimistic and say 3 years, like how much is the next generation going to love Thanos? And you can't really bring him back. Like, they're not going to redo, Avengers or the Thanos storyline. So yeah, that is tough. And I do think it's a concern. I don't think that the ride system will become outdated, because that like Peter Pan style is always super popular. But it kind of feels like, George, they're almost going the route of, remember that black box attraction that they were going to do where Avatar's going now? It almost feels like they're kind of trying to do that here, but bigger scale, where they can kind of change it if they needed, maybe. I don't know if that is the route they're going, but it definitely concerns me a bit. I don't know. I'm optimistic, but I'm also like really like concerned at the same time.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I do. Just because of the fact of where, as you said, like they just started the construction. So this isn't going to be done for another 2, maybe 3 years, if in case of like, if there's any, construction halt or delay, hopefully not. But even to now, like this year, Fantastic Four is coming out this summer, and we're going to see Galactus, so even like for this year, like in 2 to 3 years, when this ride is done, Galactus will be 2 to 3 years old off of Fantastic
It
Four.
could be, yeah. Galactus could be bigger than Thanos.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh,
You're on mute.
sorry,
There you go.
sorry, George.
There you go.
Yeah, Galactus could be bigger than Thanos because Galactus is already known about, like even by casual fans. Whereas Thanos, like, okay, I'm sure a lot of the comic super fans knew Thanos, but like he was a completely new character to 90% of the like movie going audience. And so yeah, Galactus could definitely be bigger than that. I mean, we'll see. The jury's obviously still out, but yeah, you're right, George. Thanos might be just a random another villain by the time this comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now with Stark Flight Lab, do you do you feel like, obviously this was a ride that kind of caught us by surprise because it wasn't in the slate, but obviously it was conceived with the ride vehicles that was going to be used in the original concept of Infinity Defense, and they have this whole set of Kuka arms, and they're like, okay, well, what do we do with this? We already bought and paid for it. We got to do something with it. Do you think that they could have done something a little more creative with them than rather than just say, hey, everyone, here's the Kuka arm, like it's from like Stark Flight Tech, the Stark Tech Industries and everything. So we're going to kind of show you what the mechanics look. Do you think that was kind of a little bit of a cop out?
Yeah, it does seem cheap when you say it that way, George, for sure. I'm still holding on hope that they're going to somehow theme it amazingly and it's all going to make sense. But from what we saw, I think it was at D23 when they first showed it, and like it was Bob Iger and who was writing with Bob Iger? It was
Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. They were writing together. It definitely looked really like left over. Like, hey, what do we got? What are we gonna do with these? Now I'm a Kuka arm hater, and I know OG kind of is too. So I'm kind of happy that they're gonna be separate rides because this definitely is gonna be like a one and done ride for me. But I still think that DCA needs more like thrill rides for like the teen crowd, especially with how many like grad nights they have and stuff like that. And people have always said like, oh, Disneyland doesn't cater to thrill seekers. So I like that they're going to have that. And then also it'll add some kinetic energy. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, it seems pretty cheap, George. I mean, I'll take a new ride. I'm not going to complain. Like, that's great. DCA needs more rides and more people eaters, more
Mhm.
rides for crowds to go to. But this could end up being kind of like a bad ride if they don't theme it really well, because like you said, George, it just looks like the leftovers from the original ride. So I'm kind of happy that they, just because as a Kook Arm hater, I'm kind of happy that we're getting two rides. Like, that's really cool to me. A more like not traditional dark ride, but a more like large scale dark ride for the main ride, and then start this one just being the Kook Arms. But I hope they theme it, George. That's all I'll say.
And with Avengers Campus, it'll actually hit a milestone achievement that Disney hasn't really done in a long time, and it's going to be one of the first lands that's going to have more than two attractions in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because nowadays, that when they do a new themed land, usually they just have two rides. You have like an E ticket and maybe a C or a D ticket. But now with Avengers Campus, there'll be four rides in there altogether.
Yeah.
So, and then hopefully as it continues to grow, who knows, that it might get six.
Right. And it's
that
so funny because when it first opened, the big complaint was like, oh, it only has one ride, because obviously Guardians had already been open for years. And so I get why people didn't include that originally. But now it's like, now they're going to have four rides and probably already working on like expansions for a fifth or more. So yeah, this is going to be a well fleshed out land. I think the one thing that it's always going to be missing is that like natural feeling that kind of like Super Nintendo World is lacking at Universal, where it's not really going to have any like water features or like natural areas. Like with Pandora, they tied that in so well with giving us natural areas. So that's probably like the only thing that'll always hold Avengers Campus down. But if we can get two more rides, which we're getting, keep the entertainment, which we already talked about that. Hopefully it's not cut, and then get like a sit down dining. It could really be one of the best lands in California.
I agree. I really do. Now with Avatar, they only mentioned the one e-ticket attraction, which is going to be the boat ride that's going to be themed like the Shanghai Pirates.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the only ride that's set up for this land? Obviously, there'll be potential expansion in the future. You never know.
Mhm.
But I mean, like, do you think that's kind of like the land is going to open with just that attraction?
Yeah, I think so, George. And I really think that's why, and I have no concrete evidence on this. This is just like my speculation, but I think that's why Disney has been so so like obvious with the Disney or with the Avatar experience, like not saying Avatar Land, but saying Avatar experience, and like so much so that it's kind of becoming like a meme and a joke among like the California people, like, oh, Avatar experience is coming. I think that's just because they know that if they say land, people get frustrated. Like there's already that online discourse of, oh, it's not really a land if it doesn't have multiple rides. And so I think that's why they're saying that. I have no evidence for that, but if we just get like one big ride, but then the ride also, it's like two zone with the ride where you're getting the ride, but you're also getting like that ambiance because of the outdoor boat ride section. I think that's why they're calling it experience, and that's totally fine with me because not everything needs to be like a new land with 3 rides. Like that's just you can't always have that, especially with a landlocked resort. And so if we just get Avatar where it's that ride with the Shanghai Pirates and like 2/3 of it is indoors and a third of it's outdoors, but that outdoor section gives us that like that aesthetic visual, like kind of like Tron, but for like a water feature. Because Avatar in Florida doesn't have that. Both rides are completely fully indoors. So I think that would be really great. And then just add, maybe like a mini Satuli canteen or something. Give us something else, like so it's not just a ride. I would be perfectly content with that.
Okay. Yeah. I think honestly, for how immersive that this ride is going to look, I think honestly, I don't even think people would even focus to say, oh, where's the second ride or where's
Yeah,
I think honestly, this ride is probably just going to be so immersive that it's like, it really isn't going to matter in that moment. And even
yep,
just the aesthetics of the land itself, just the walk around and the one extra blessing that DCA is going to have with their Pandora as opposite of Animal Kingdom is you'll be able to have the bioluminescent aspect to it.
yeah, because we don't close at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, George, and you won't be sweating every time you step into Pandora. So that's a great point.
Yes,
What
absolutely.
would you say that? What would you say your percentage of confidence is that it's going to be the Shanghai Pirates system? You think like 50-50 or like 90?
I would say I'd say like 70% sure that like it's the Shanghai Pirates, and I say 70 because I feel like it's going to be that kind of tech, but I feel like it'll be much more upscale. It'll be up to
Hmm.
date with the tech. So basically, it'll be like the Pirate Shanghai, but with with uh, with up to date technology.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I love that because I'm pretty vocal that I don't like clones. In fact, I like actively think that Disney Universal shouldn't do clones. But if it's just the same ride system, but a completely different visuals in every single way, and even to your point, like maybe some updated like of the ride system, that's totally fine with me. And in fact, I think that's like awesome because then it really whets your appetite for that ride system, and it makes you want to go experience it. Like I'm not a really big Test Track fan. In fact, I kind of am a Test Track hater. But I think Test Track 2.0. I think 3.0 could be great. But I think that
Mhm.
ride system like whets your appetite and makes people want to, oh, what if I go experience the better version in California and stuff like that. So I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, because that was always one of my pet peeves is like when people say, yeah, Walt Disney World got Test Track. Why couldn't we get cars? Why couldn't we get
Yeah.
Radiator Springs races? But that's just it. Is like when I used to live over on the East Coast, I would purposely book a Disneyland trip. And that would be one of my main center focuses. Oh, I'm going to go over and see Cars Land. It's like,
Yep.
because I can't get it in Florida and I
Right.
wouldn't want it in Florida. Now that they're going to have a Cars Land in Florida, which is actually, this is a great segue moving over to Florida. And that's with the Cars themed area that's going into Magic Kingdom, where I'm okay with that was when I believe it was Mickey Views. It was yeah, I believe it was Mickey Views that mentioned there was going to be like a Cars area in Magic Kingdom, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Just the fact of getting a replica of Cars Land, but they're going to put it in Magic Kingdom. How is that going to work? But
Right.
when Josh Damaro mentioned at D23 of it's going to be a completely different look, it's going to be a different style, a different storyline. And then just recently, when they released that it's going to be called Piston Peak, and it's going to have this very nature organic kind of wilderness look to it. um I absolutely love it. I think despite of the backlash that it has with the Rivers of America and and Tom Sawyer Island going away, but I think this kind of works for best of both worlds, because you still get that outdoor, nature feeling, but then you also have an IP attached that would be popular for families and young kids that are going to be going into Magic Kingdom. Plus, it gives the Magic Kingdom its own identity
Yep.
to kind of come out of the shadow, so to speak, out of Disneyland, because a lot of people don't know, even though Magic Kingdom is the top dog for theme parks, but when you go to Disneyland Park and then you go back and it's like, wow, I could see the kind of little bit of the lackluster in Magic
Yes.
Kingdom. So I love that it's starting to kind of come into its own.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, George. And I'm so happy you brought up all those points, because all those points you brought up are all the pros for this, and they outweigh like the only con, and that being like losing the historic nature of like Tom Sawyer Island, and that does suck, and losing like the waterfront. But that's like the only con, whereas all the positives are everything you just listed. And I'll even add, like, when you go to Disneyland Paris, that's a third Rivers of America, and a third one that's like, or a second one that's better than the Florida version. So that means the Florida version's the third out of three in terms of like quality. And on top of that, yeah, like you said, Georgia, it just doesn't have its identity now. And when you're the number one most visited theme park in the world, you want to have identity. And I totally get the one thing with Rivers of America that always made me so nervous is losing like nature and water is like a really big, like it makes the park hotter and not as pretty, like aesthetically. But we're still getting that. Like, we're still getting a huge river and like a waterfall now, which is even better than anything we had with Rivers of America. So I'm still bummed to like lose the Liberty Bell as an attraction, but I think that, yeah, we're really not really losing that much. And you're going to gain, as you already talked about, more uniqueness, more like character for Magic Kingdom. Because now, instead of having the third best Rivers of America, they're going to have the number one best Piston Peak and the number one best Rocky Mountain based land, because that doesn't exist. The closest you have is Grizzly Peak in California Adventure, but that's not the Rocky Mountains. That's like the California, like redwoods, basically. Not the redwoods, but you know what I mean. Like, that's the California area. So yeah, you're getting the best of both worlds there. And like you said too, it's not the exact same as Cars Land, because if it was Radiator Springs, I would be like, why are they like, what are they doing? This is horrible. Like, why would you duplicate that? That's bad for so many reasons. But you take away all those cons when you don't make it the same. And it's kind of the same with Indiana Jones. I don't know if you want to talk about Tropical Americas at all, George, but it's the same with Indiana Jones, where I was like, oh, why are they doing Indiana Jones? Like, we already have that. Just keep it dinosaur. But then when they announced that it's going to be a completely new story, not at any of the Disney parks we've seen before, like, that's just a home run for me. Like, really, really smart of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I do want to tap into Tropical Americas for sure. Actually, before we move over there was another thing I wanted to mention about the cars, which I think is really great that Disney kind of tapped into the nostalgia point, where, again, Slimer had mentioned it on social media, that there's a portion of the land that or area that it's going to pay tribute to kind of nature's wonderland from Disneyland.
Yes.
It's like the spinning boulders and everything.
Right.
I think that would be really cool if they can really like tap into that, to actually see that, basically kind of do a full circle of something that was nostalgic to Disneyland, but they kind of bring it to Magic Kingdom and make it its own. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
just incredible. It feels like Disney, like I have a lot of friends that were critical of Rivers of America, and that's totally fine if you're critical. But for the people that were beyond critical, like the Save Magic Kingdom, and like people that were like, this is the stupidest thing Disney's ever done, this kind of feels like Disney's like slapping them in the face. Like, we're going to give you all this stuff that you never thought you were getting, and you're going to like this more than you ever liked Rivers of America, and you just don't know it yet. And they're being so subtle about it. And like,
and
I think that's
that's
awesome. And I could still be wrong if they cut the budget, but so far it seems like that's the case.
exactly. I'm the same way with you. And that's what frustrates me. It's like, you're entitled to have your opinion. You're entitled to have your concerns. You don't have to like everything Disney does. There's certain things that I don't like that they do, but for the most part, I always say, give something a chance, even though if they come out of the gate and you're like, whoa, like, why are they doing that? Wait and see what it becomes of it.
Yep.
And then experience it. Because if you don't experience it and you're only going by hearsay, or you're just going by video or photos, you're not experiencing it yourself, that you can actually give your full-fledged opinion on it.
Yep, totally. And we've seen that time and time again with Tiana's. And I mean, you could go back 10, 20 years, even before social media was big, and you saw the same thing, even just through like YouTube videos, or people being upset about stuff that they haven't even seen before. And it's the same with like Muppets. Like I'm so sad to lose Muppets. It really sucks. But the whole courtyard like needed to go. And the second we see Monstropolis, we're all going to be like, oh, thank gosh they did this. And so, yeah, I'll always be sad about Muppets being gone. I love that show, one of my favorite shows, but Monstropolis is going to make me completely forget about it because it's going to be so good. It just sucks to have to wait. And I get that. But when the wait is over, it'll be so worth it.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, it isn't that how it always is. It's like when you're in the moment of like what you just described, like with the Muppets, it's like it's a bittersweet, like you have this original classic, and especially like the last of Jim Henson's work that's going away. And I'm glad Disney is preserving the film, you know, that's a good thing. And I do hope, I had mentioned this on I believe it was on Orange Grove 55, where um that they also preserve the pre-show, um uh the pre-show films as well. You know, I think that they really need to keep that as well, because it kind of ties into the actual show. It's that build up, you know, and I hope that they also include the physical pieces of that, like with the visual effects with the Swedish Chef and Sweetums and Statler and Waldorf and Bean Bunny. You know, I hope that they all incorporate that. But it's like, yeah, it is sad to see it go, but you're right. Whenever we see Monstropolis, are we really going to stand there and say, "Oh yeah, but you know, we lost Muppets and everything," which again is sad. But when you're in that moment, it's like, "Oh my, I want to eat at Harryhausen's, or I want to go on that." I'm telling you, that roller coaster, I cannot wait to experience that. Just
Yep.
the startup of it, where it raises you off the ground
Oh,
and shoots you into the tunnel, like that alone, I'm excited for.
yep. Yeah, and like you said, I'm devastated about Muppets, and even if we never get it anywhere else but Disney Plus, which side note, to your point, would be really, really um not doing Muppets justice, because so much of what that makes that show great is the theater, is all the effects, Statler and Waldorf, like the animatronics, even Sweetums, like walking through. That's stuff that you can't portray on Disney Plus, like unless they do some like a 3D 360 like camera but even then you're still not getting the physical effect. So that's what I'll be bummed about with Muppets for sure. I'm still holding out hope that we get it. We get the theater somehow, somewhere in America, California Adventure or even Disneyland Paris. I don't care. I'm holding out hope. I might be in the wrong, but I'm holding out hope. But even outside of that, losing Muppets is sucks. And when we're doing that new show in Monstropolis, I'm very confident it won't be as good as Muppets. But you have the new show and a new restaurant and the rethemed pizza Rizzo and whatever they're going to take down with this. Was it Studio 16 or whatever? I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember the studio name, but whatever that the shop was for Muppets. And we're getting a whole brand new coaster that's taking over a parking lot and the courtyard in front of the coaster. And so you could just keep going, but like there's so much of that fans don't understand. Like capacity alone, that new coaster is going to eat up thousands of people an hour in its queue and on the ride. That's so many thousands of people not in like lines or rides for other places in the park, which makes the rest of the park better. So just little things like that people don't think about. That Muppets was awesome to have, but the courtyard just didn't like make Hollywood Studios better. It was just a kind of a dead zone where no one is really going to Pizza Rizzo. No one is really going to Mama Melrose. No one was shopping because that studio store has been closed for freaking 5.5 years. So it
And
just wasn't eating crowds, and that Monstropolis will eat crowds, give us way more to do, give us a brand new coaster, all that stuff.
and not to mention, I mean, I love that store. I loved how it was just dedicated to the Muppets. But to be honest, no one no one shopped there. You know, it was like it's like people actually more so utilized it to get out of the rain.
Yeah,
You know, that's when I saw like people in there the most, and it's like they had all this Muppet merch, which is great, but it never moved the needle. You know,
yeah,
Disney wasn't capitalizing on it. Now, when you see Monsters Inc. and you're going to see like different like mouse ears, and there's going to be different hats, and I'm for sure like the merch is going to move at the wazoo with that. Now,
for sure.
with
Yeah, and that store too was as good as it was when it was open, which it hasn't been in 6 years. It was in such a bad location. It was in the middle of the land, which like just didn't. It was so bad for crowd flow and like when you're exiting Muppet Theater and just took over everything. So them getting rid of that is really just going to open up that whole land, and that's on top of the expansion into the cast member parking lot.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And you're right with the coaster, it's going into uncharted territory where it adds more capacity and expands the park even more. Now, when you were down in Florida, did you happen to catch the two shows at Hollywood Studios, The Little Mermaid or Villains?
No, I missed them both by about 3 days. Very sad.
Oh, wow. Okay. So with that, I'll just say this because I know that you love to like experience it while it happens. So I won't give any spoilers, but I will say I absolutely love what they did with The Little Mermaid. I
Good.
love the visuals that they put to that and how they moved the storylines like so eloquently within like I think it was like 19 minutes of how long the show is. That was a complete home run, especially of how they utilized the puppetry and the dark lighting and everything. It was perfect. The villain show, there were certain moments in there where I felt like, okay, this could work. But then there's also moments where it's like, oh, okay, that's a little bit kind of cringy there. And I think that's Disney's way of trying to find a balance with the villains. And I like how that they're trying to kind of test the waters with them before they go this big grand scale with the villains land over at Magic Kingdom. So the reason why I bring that up, because obviously I feel like the villain show isn't going to be there forever, obviously. But being that the Muppets are going to be moving into Rock and Roller Coaster, why not then turn that theater that's holding villains now and maybe put in a kind of a Muppet Vision 3D there, and you can re-envision in a whole entire Muppet courtyard right over there, right by Tower of Terror.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreed. And one of the other Disney YouTubers I watch a lot, too many actually. In fact, the reason I stopped posting on my Disney YouTube channel is because I was just watching too many other YouTubers. But one of the ones I like a lot is Drew the Disney Dude, and he just did a video on this. And yeah, kind of a side point, but along with what you're saying, he said he was not a fan of Villains Land at all, or Villains Unfairly After at all, which is shocking because he is a huge like villains guy and is usually pretty optimistic, positive towards Disney. So I feel like that show might have been a miss. I haven't seen it yet, but just based on your review and his, and just the lack of like hype it's getting on social media, like no one's really talking about it, So bummer for that show, but I do think it's temporary. I think that they're just using it to get the vibe that people are going to want for Villains Land. Like, do they go spooky? Do they go not? Do they go in the middle? I think that's just what they're doing. They're just trying to get the vibe right. So I think that show's temporary. And yeah, what are they going to do when it's done? When it's gone? It would be absolutely perfect for Muppets. And the point that Drew brought up in his video, which I had never heard before, I think is really smart, is what if, because Disney is a business and they need to bring in money, right? And bringing back Muppet Vision 3D makes the super fans really happy, but no like regular guest is going to buy a park ticket for that. It's going to be a lot of annual pass holders and those of us that are going to visit. What if for like 2/3 of the day or even half the day, they do a brand new Muppet show, something that no one's ever seen before? And then the other half of the day, or even like just for a couple hours at night, they bring back Muppet Vision 3D. So they keep the same theater that Muppet Vision 3D was, or a similar theater, but then it can hold two shows. So we already see this in is it France? It's France, right? In Epcot, where they have two different shows and they run them differently. You have Impressions de France, and then you have what's the other one that they run?
Is it the Beauty and the Beast?
The Beauty and the Beast one, exactly. So they run both of those at different times of the day. So what if you did that for Muppets, where you have a new show, so you can advertise that to new guests and bring in families and say, hey, like we have this new show because that sells tickets. But then you also do Muppet Vision, which satiates the brand new fans, or I'm sorry, the Muppet Vision 3D fans. So now you're hitting both buckets. So yeah, I think that for the sake of like that land, it just makes too much sense. And I feel like a lot of people are agreeing with that, where you have the Muppets coaster, but kids can't ride it. So why don't you just make that land a whole Muppets land? It's already like, in its own little box there. Obviously it's next to Tower of Terror, but it really is its own little mini land. And you make that Muppets courtyard. And now you're not, interrupting the flow of the rest of the park. It's a cohesive theme. So I really don't, what else are they going to put in that big theater right behind a Muppets coaster? Like whatever they're going to do there, unless they just plan on keeping villains there for like 10 years. But the show feels really temporary to me. I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like the villain show will be around there long.
Yeah, after seeing it, it definitely feels temporary for sure. It just feels like it's just something to kind of fill in the vibe, to kind of get people again like used to having more of the villains integrated into the parks.
Right.
I can
Right.
see them actually probably getting rid of that show after the fact that the villains land is completed
Yep.
over at Magic Kingdom. So
Yep.
probably
And
I'd
that'll
say
be what, like 2028, 2029.
that's what
But
I'm
the Muppets
thinking.
coaster isn't even going to get here until probably late 2026. And so, yeah, that's only like, a couple year gap where they could even close it early. Like once Villains Land is, about to be open, especially if the show is not getting good reviews, George, like, or it's not drawing in crowds, then, what's really the incentive to keep it? They could bring Muppets there like pretty soon, like
I think
2027. I could see
eventually
it by.
that area I think is going to become the new Muppets Courtyard because it's kind of like out of the ordinary. You have the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror,
Yeah.
and then you
On
walk
Sunset
into that
Boulevard.
court area, you have the Muppets, and then right next to it you have villains.
Right,
Like
right.
there's no
And it
cohesive.
really is, which what I was trying to get at, and you saying that the courtyard is such a great point. It really is like the perfect definition of a courtyard. It's not a land. It's not even big enough to be a mini land because there's no dining or anything. It would just be absolutely perfect for, yeah, to bring the show in, because even like what makes a full land is like dining and characters. But Muppets Courtyard didn't really have either. It didn't have walk around characters. And for dining, I mean, it had Pizza Rizzo, and that was awesome theme. Don't get me wrong, I love Pizza Rizzo, but it was just a quick service, like average pizza joint. And then Mama Melrose, like, it was kind of Muppets, but not really even. So, yeah, so you don't really need dining. Like, that's not what people are sad about. There's no walk around characters. So you really could make it just those two rides and it'd be a perfect courtyard. Like, that is Muppets Courtyard right there. And I think what you were getting at too, George, is it's so off the beaten path. Like, you have to go down Sunset Boulevard and then take a hard left into that like courtyard. So it'd just be perfect to make that be the Muppets. That's not affecting, if someone doesn't like the Muppets, they don't need to go back there. I don't know who doesn't like the Muppets, but it just seems like a no-brainer to me. It would be also, George, it'd be really cheap too. Like, you don't really have to change the theater that much. You already have all the props and the animatronics, and I feel like it'd be a cheap move
I
in a good
really
way.
hope that they just kind of like hold on to the props and
Mm-hmm.
the audio animatronics and the costumes and everything, and just when the time is right, literally just transfer it all over into that theater because
Right.
you have
That
the
would be so
stage,
cheap.
you have the, and they could even add the updates where because obviously you can see that the quality of the film is from the 90s obviously, but maybe when they tie it into kind of like a newer resolution screen,
Sure.
the 3D can really like pop, it can really
Yes.
work, so I think honestly in time, and I think the demand that people would be for it for after it would be absent for how many years,
Oh gosh.
that I
Yeah.
mean the
Yep.
draw back in that courtyard would be amazing because then you would have the 3D show and then you would have the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. So you'd have
Yep.
something for the kids and the families, and then you have something also for the thrill seekers as well.
Yep. And then at that point, you have every box ticked because now no fans are mad because you replaced Muppets Courtyard, the current one, with a way better land in Metropolis. But then you also upgraded Muppets by getting them on the coaster. No one's going to miss Aerosmith. If you're one of the 1% that's watching Citrico Central and you're going to miss Aerosmith, feel free to shoot me a DM on Twitter and I'll apologize. But no one's going to miss Aerosmith. So now you're upgrading a coaster. You're upgrading that whole courtyard by making it all Muppets. Then maybe down the road you can expand that and have it connect to Animation Courtyard when they decide to put something there, because that's a pretty bad dead end right now. So yeah, it just feels like a win all the way around. You're not, like you said, like we've been talking about, it would be pretty cheap. They could move it over seamlessly. And yeah, you're keeping everybody happy. Like Muppets fans would be happy. Monsters Inc. fans would be happy. General audiences are going to be happy. It seems like a no-brainer, and I don't see how they do. I don't see how they don't do it. The more we talk about it. With that being said, they probably won't now. But
Yeah,
I just hope we get it somewhere, George,
you
even if it's
never
like
know.
TCA.
You never know because a lot of things that I have mentioned, Disney has been listening to me,
Okay,
and I
dude,
actually have the proof
listen up.
on video.
Good.
So hopefully, what that would kind of remind me of if Disney does do that is sort of like how they did with Festival of the Lion King, of how it used to be over at Camp Mini Mickey,
Right.
and they moved it over to Africa, which for some reason I don't even know why it wasn't in Africa in the first place.
Yeah, why was Lion King in Camp Mini Mickey?
Yeah.
And that was like a temporary land, right? It was supposed to be temporary, but
Yeah, it
that's
was
the
the
Lion
only
King's still here
temporary.
and better than ever 24 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it was only going to be just for a character meet and greet until they figured out at the time that, with Beastly Kingdom. But since that never happened, then that became essentially Pandora. And it's like, well, the popularity of Festival of the Lion King, we can't lose that. So
Right.
let's just build a theater in Africa, which that was genius that they did.
Genius. Yeah. It's a really good comparison, George. And Disney, I don't think that they've managed the Muppets like super well. Like for sure they haven't, but they also are investing in the Muppets. We just saw a couple years ago we got the Muppets Halloween special, the Haunted Mansion one. They're just now. I don't know if it's out or not. I don't think it's out yet. But the Jim Henson documentary that's going on Disney Plus, like I don't think that Disney's handled the Muppets well in the parks, but they definitely are like hammering them on Disney Plus like pretty heavily. Like my son, I mean, he's only 2, but he like likes watching the Muppets now. And to be honest, like 3 years ago, outside of being a theme park fan, I had no connection to the Muppets, like none at all. But we watch that Halloween one every Halloween, and now we're gonna watch the Jim Henson Legacy and watch more Muppets. And so, yeah, I feel like they want to bring Muppets in. The fact that the show at Magic Kingdom's now gone, obviously the California Adventure Muppets is gone. Is Disney really just only going to have a coaster that like is probably in its last 10 to 15 years of life anyways as their only Muppets representation? That doesn't seem right to me.
And especially because it will only fit a certain demographic.
Yeah.
Because you can't have young kids that aren't tall enough for it, or maybe that they're not into thrill rides. They're
Yeah.
not going to experience it. Or for the older generation, you're not going to have the elderly going on that.
No.
But
It's a
they may
legit
have
complaint. It's a legit complaint for Tiana that like kids can't go on that. Tiana's 100 times less thrilling than a literal coaster in the pitch black that goes like 60 miles per hour, has 2 inversions. Like I have a good friend who loves coasters. He won't ride it just because inversions like make him sick. So like to your point, George, with like the elderly and kids, it's not even just a height thing. Like Tiana's okay, you have to be a certain height to go on it, and that's a bummer. But most people are comfortable with log flumes. Maybe that drop scares them a bit, but if they've been on it, like they're pretty comfortable. Rock and
I'm
roller
curious
coaster is like legit, like super thrilling.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it's even going to integrate into the Muppets themselves.
Yeah,
Because
what's
when
the
you're
theming
on the
gonna be?
ride, you're only going to see like the neon billboards and the lights.
Flat. Yep.
I don't know, like really what they could actually put in the Muppets unless you actually hear them singing, like with whoever the special guest is, and they'll probably incorporate them into the queue. But other than
Yeah.
that, I mean, it's basically just the same roller coaster
Yeah.
layout.
Yeah. I mean, I think the queue they can definitely knock out of the park. And we've already seen some fan concept arts for like what they could do there. It's already, I mean, I like the pre-show a lot, but the queue's nothing special, right now outside of the pretty cool pre-show, but no one really cares about Steven Tyler. And honestly, half the time that pre-show is just open to walk through. So yeah, I feel like they could do a great queue, an upgraded queue. And obviously the music, like you said, is going to be great. The onboard audio, everything. But what's the on ride like? It's just going to be flat cutouts of Muppets characters. Like that's not exciting. Are they going to do more? Well, you're not going to be able to see it. Like on Velocicoaster, they have like dinosaurs. You can't even see them, and they don't move. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, George. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a definitely a concern, but I'm very curious to see what they'll do with it for sure. But now, kind of as you had mentioned, going over for Tropical Americas, I have to say, as a land, and we talked about this on Orange Grove 55, I'm excited for Indiana Jones. I'm very excited to see a new adventure, like with the Mayan temple and what have you. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Encanto, but just the land as a whole, I'm excited for. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that they're going to have like a new original storyline to this land where they're going to have a carousel with like wood carvings of like different Disney animals, but there's a story behind it that there's a wood carver that lives in the town and he built this from scratch. Like I just love that, and I'm very excited to the fact of where I would have been excited for Zootopia or Moana going into there, but I feel like it was just the IPs that were taking over that land. This feels like a genuine real world land that
Yep.
fits within Animal Kingdom with the IP integrated in it.
Yeah, absolutely, George. I feel like Tropical Americas is probably the most underrated like land that Disney's built since maybe Pandora or Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in terms of like people aren't talking about how this is literally perfect. It checks every single box. Thrill ride, check. Indiana Jones. Family like dark ride that park needs so bad. Like every park could use more dark rides, especially Animal Kingdom more than any other park. It needs a classic dark ride, and you're getting that. And then on top of that, you have another family ride that the park also needs, and you're getting like the whole backstory, which is just perfect. And you're getting an expansion land that fits because you have Africa, you have Asia, you have all these lands. You don't have South America yet, or the tropical Americas, Latin America, what have you. So you're checking like 6 different boxes. The only box that I feel like they're not checking, and they could have, they just decided not to, is getting more animals there, which, I mean, it is Animal Kingdom. So that's like the only bummer that I feel like they could have fit, a couple animal exhibits in, but whatever. Logistically, maybe that was too hard for them to do. So yeah, I feel like this checks every box. You're keeping your thrill ride, but you're upgrading it. Like Dinosaur is a fun ride. It's really like objectively pretty bad. I mean, it's half of it's like in the pitch black, and it's not even supposed to be. They just had to make it dark because everything's broken and the queue is outdated. So you're like getting this great thrill ride that's like newly themed, and you're getting on top of all that, you're now dispersing the crowds from Avatar for rope drop. Because right now, if you rope drop Animal Kingdom, there's only one spot to go. You're not rope dropping anything else other than maybe Kilimanjaro safaris if you just like love the morning time safari. But 95% of crowds are going to Avatar. Well, now you get to split that in two. So, and they're on the opposite sides of the park. So you're really easing up a lot of stress from Avatar and like allowing that land to be more enjoyable. And yeah, you're just going to eat more crowds inside Tropical Americas. And like you said, with the story of the carousel, and I think the city's called Pueblo Esperanza.
Yes.
Pueblo Esperanza, if I'm saying that right. So you have a backstory. So yeah, just I'm kind of echoing what you already said, George, but I think this land is going to be incredible. You're getting the South America, Tropical America like area of the world that Animal Kingdom didn't have, but fits perfectly with Africa and Asia. And then you're getting a family dark ride, you're getting a thrill ride, you're getting a carousel. Hopefully, we're going to get like walk around characters and more food, more dining. So feels like I'm just a hit in every way to me. And on top of that, as a fan, this doesn't really matter to me, but it still like matters practically. This isn't going to be that expensive for Disney because they already have the ride system with Dinosaur. A carousel's not that expensive. Yeah, they have to build the huge, massive e-ticket for Encanto, but that's just going in like backstage area. So it's not even really that expensive of a build. So I feel like this is like a huge win all across the board.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think as far as the notion of not adding more animals over there, even though that would be really cool, I feel like it would be kind of detrimental to the land because if you add more animal exhibits over there, then that would hinder of keeping that part of the park open later. And
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
with Tropical Americas, I'm hoping this will help the operations of Animal Kingdom to go back to staying open to like 9, 10 p.m. like it
From
really
your
should.
lips to the Lord's ears, or to Bob Iger's ears, I hope, George.
Because it really needs to. I mean, we want to see the bioluminescent forest in Pandora. I want to see the Tree of Life, come to life with the projection show, and to see what Tropical Americas is going to look like at night. I think would probably be beautiful in itself.
Yeah,
So
and how about the safaris at night, George? We got that during COVID. We got that Animal Kingdom show on Disney Plus, and
mhm.
an entire episode was dedicated to how they were building that like fake tree. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I might forget the details, but they were building that fake tree that had lights on it so that they could open the safaris at night. And now it's just we haven't seen it. So safaris at night, Tree of Life at night, the bioluminescence and Avatar at night, night rides on Everest, a nighttime show, George, knock on wood.
Yes.
Like, and Tropical Americas. I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm just getting excited just thinking about it.
well, and they have that whole entire outdoor amphitheater that they used for Rivers of Light. It's literally sitting there stagnant.
Right
It's
there, ready
insane.
for people to sit in it. And it's such a huge, like, basically like 280 degrees of seating. And
Yeah.
all they've seen in it is freaking kite tails.
Oh, don't even get me started on that one. Oh my gosh. That one was, oh man, that was an eyesore all around. I get it. Disney, had to do what they had to do, but woo.
Yeah.
um,
And I
but
get people are going to say, like, oh, it can't be open at night because, you can't, like, the animals need to sleep, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I get that for a lot of the park. But
But
they've
they did
had
it.
nighttime shows in that
That's what I was gonna say.
um,
They did it
lagoon
before.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So to me, that's not. And honestly, they could even reroute some of the animal like housing,
Yep.
like maybe a
Absolutely.
little bit further on. I mean, the park is huge.
Yeah, I mean, go look at Animal Kingdom Lodge. You literally have people like flicking on their lights all throughout the hotel, all nights, like all hours of the night. And that, I mean, the animals are perfectly fine there. So obviously, you can't do fireworks, and no one's asking them for fireworks. To be honest, you don't even have to do drones. You can just do a crazy cool projection show. Give us anything that's nighttime, and I think fans are going to take it and run with it. Was Rivers of Light an amazing show? No. Would I do anything to have it back? Yes, because it expands that park. It keeps people there longer. And you know what happens when people stay at Animal Kingdom longer, George? The other three parks then get less crowds at night. So yeah, it's a win all around. I feel like it's coming, but until we get like reassurance that it is going to stay open until 8 or 9 or 10, I don't want to get too excited, but I feel like
Yeah,
it's coming.
absolutely. And then we did touch upon a little bit of the villains, but for the villains land overall, are you excited? Well, obviously, I am for sure you're excited for it because I mean, like at D23, the whole entire arena erupted like for the
Yeah,
finale for
we were
villains.
there together, George. We probably heard each other screaming.
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like literally, I was like an 8-year-old little girl, like at a Taylor Swift concert. Like that.
That's
That was me
awesome.
when they announced villains. Um,
That's
but
awesome.
but I think it does come with the concern of like again the balance of like what they're going to do as far as like the aesthetics. I feel like they'll hit a home run with the aesthetics because even with the villain show, it looks really cool of how they design the stage, but it's just hitting the right notes with the villains. And I feel like it starts with which villains they choose because
Yeah.
I feel like they need to kind of go a little bit more towards the darker villains than kind of like the comedic slapstick kind of villains.
Yep, agreed. And yeah, I'm super excited, George. I got my Dark Universe shirt on here for Epic Universe.
Nice.
So I love villains, but I'm really not like super into horror. Like horror is not really my genre, but I love that vibe. And so Villains Land is like perfect for me because I like I don't know how you I like villains and Dark Universe and stuff like that. But I don't like freaky horror. So this is like perfect for me. I am skeptical, George, that the thing that scares me the most is that Villains Land is going to have such unbelievably high expectations. And I just don't know how they're going to hit that with a relatively small plot of land. Not like tiny, but just small compared to what the villains could fit. I feel like villains themselves could have been their own third gate at like Disneyland. Maybe not a full park, but damn near half or 2/3 of a park. And so just doing a land that's only going to have like a couple rides, and I say only, but I'm still like really excited. But I just feel like you have so many villains and there's so many possibilities, and people are going to have such high expectations. And we've all been waiting for this for 10, 15, 20 years that I feel like it's going to be very hard for them to hit a home run here because of how high the fences are. Um, so yeah, so I think that I'm worried. My first thought is excitement. My second thought immediately behind excitement is worry, only because it's going to be so hard for them to hit these expectations. If they had tons and tons of land and like they were like, we could build on here for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, then I'd be like, awesome, who cares what we get? But I feel like this might be their only shot to do villains right. And so I'm a little nervous. With that being said, I still think it's going to be awesome. The vibe's going to be incredible. Yeah, I don't doubt that they're going to knock it out of the park. I just feel like unless the budget is like out of this world, a lot of people are going to be disappointed.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that concern. I'm very curious about like the dark ride because Disney said there's going to be a dark ride and a roller coaster, and I
Coaster,
feel
yeah,
like it's going to be sort of like how you had mentioned with Dark Universe, where I feel like the roller coaster is going to come secondary, like how the Curse of the
yeah,
Werewolf is, where the dark ride is what's going to be the immersive e-ticket.
right.
But I'm very curious to see like how they do that storyline. Are they going to bring like all the villains together? Like for the one dark ride, is it just going to be a few villains? Is it going to just be based off of one villain? Like I'm very curious to see how
Man,
they do that dark
that could
ride.
be the Dark Universe script to a T, right, George? The dark ride is all the villains, and then the coaster is kind of an afterthought, and it's just like one or two villains. That's funny that the parallels they could go. Yeah, I will see. I hope that this is the one land where I'm like, I hope they throw everything at the wall. I hope we get like so many characters and sit down dining and like somehow 3 rides, even though it's probably not possible. Like, I hope they throw everything at the wall. And honestly, I hope that they find a way to reroute the entrance to Haunted Mansion and have that, even if it's not like a part of the land, have that be like maybe right outside the land and like be part
A
of the
nice
aesthetic.
segue. That would be
Yeah,
a
a nice
perfect.
segue to the land, and like that'd be good for Haunted Mansion and the land, and kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy at DCA, that would kind of expand the footprint, if you will, for Villains Land. So I hope they can pull that off too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you with all that. I think with villains, just like with Epic Universe in general, like people were having like such high expectations for it, where it is a great theme park. I absolutely love
Mhm.
it. I only been there for just the one day, but I mean, I would definitely want to go back again. But when you put something so high up on a pedestal,
Yeah,
when you get the expectations, it seems like it's underwhelming when it really isn't. It is
right.
actually higher than what you expect. But when you go above and beyond to say, oh, this is going to be like the best thing that's ever come out, like, and I say the same thing for Disney with villains. I feel like that people are going to put this thing on such a high note that when we actually get the reality of it, it's great, but it's like, oh, well, it's not what we expected. Well, because your
Yeah.
expectations were too high.
Yeah, because we've been thinking about, all of us as fans have been thinking about a potential Villains Land for,
Years.
decades, as long as we've been fans. So you're right, and expectations really are important. I mean, think about like a movie, and like think about a movie that you saw before it was popular and how much you loved it, and now think about a movie that you saw that everybody loved, but you like for whatever reason didn't see it until later, and you were just kind of like, oh, like it was good, but not like what everyone thought, because expectations have such a big role in like how we view things, and so I feel like that's to Disney's detriment a lot, and Epic Universe too. And we probably have the same people in mind that have wrongfully hyped up Epic Universe too high. But
Yes.
yeah, so it just stinks for Disney because they are the number one player in the game, and so that's why Universal is good for them. Because if it was just Disney and no Universal, like Disney would just be too high of expectations for everybody. But you have Universal and Six Flags and all this stuff, so it puts Disney on the correct like leveling. But yeah, I hope that I hope that they can just give like all the budget and all the just creativity in the world to Villains Land so that it just blows any expectations out of the water. Because if it's just like an average land or even above average, I feel like that's not good enough for like Villains Land, you know? So we'll see. But I'm still really excited. I feel like I'm being negative, but I'm still really excited for this. It's just that I've been thinking about a Villains Land for so long, and so has everybody. But like you said at the start, when they announced it at D23, I was screaming like a little girl. So I'll be there on opening day, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you. And I think honestly, with everything that's coming out of Walt Disney World, I'm like, I already spoke to Abby about it. It's like in the next couple of years, I'm very tempted to get my annual pass back.
Yeah,
Um, just because I feel like I'm going to be making a lot of frequent trips
yeah.
down there for Monsters Inc. and Tropical Americas and Cars and Villains and all
Oh,
that
that's
good stuff.
from 20. That was one of my tweets from 2026, I think, or even you can even include this year with Test Track and the new parade and the 2 new shows at Hollywood Studios and all that, and the new Zootopia show, Animal Kingdom. From now until like 2029, there's basically going to be something new opening every year, and like that thing is going to be the hit of the year, like every year. And even recently, we had Tron in 2022, I think, and Cosmic Rewind in 2021, and so yeah, I mean, to the point of this, the name of this episode, George, like we're so blessed. And even if you want to go to Universal, you had Velocicoaster and Hagrid's within the last 5 years, and Epic Universe this year. So we're just unbelievably blessed as like US based theme park fans. And I know Abby was on one of your videos. It was one of her. It was like her first trip in a long time, right, to Disney World. So you guys probably got a lot of trips
Yeah, it was
coming
it was
soon.
her first time back and how long, and it was her first time actually staying on property.
Oh
So
wow.
she got to actually see firsthand what it's like to be in the Disney bubble.
Oh, it's such a
Um,
different feeling. Now imagine they bring back Magical Express, George. Then you have to get your AP because you'll be flying there so often. They'll take your bags and all that. Like if Magical Express was brought back, that would instantly increase my Florida trips by like I already go
well,
probably about 2 to 3 times
absolutely.
a
I
year.
mean,
It would absolutely be like 4 to 5 times a year for me.
well, I have to say, see, what pissed me off was the fact that it went away. And what pissed me off even more was they didn't bring it back.
Yeah,
Like I could
yeah,
understand like if during the times like with COVID and what have you that they decided, you know what, let's kind of like put it on hold. let's put it
Mhm.
on hiatus. But when things started reopening back up and everything, I thought for sure it was going to come back, or at
Yeah.
least some sort of variation to it. I know that they have a contract with Mears where you can now, I think, go to with certain Disney hotels that they are doing, but hopefully in time they can integrate that back. I swear, if Demaro can bring that back, he has my vote to be
I'll
CEO.
let him be CEO. Sorry, Dana Walden.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, I was aboard the Demaro CEO train, but I feel like it's just been so rocky. Like when Chapek was let go and they brought back Iger and him and Demaro like got rid of all those things. Like they got rid of the parking, the hotel parking fees, and like I don't even remember what else, but like we went up and then it went down for a couple years, and then we had that disaster 2022 D23 Expo. Like went back down, and then we had the 2024 D23 Expo, and so I feel like it's just been a roller coaster, and I want to give Demaro more time as Parks president because of how much this roller coaster has gone, and see what he can do with the two new roller coasters we're getting in Monstropolis and Villains Land. But yeah, we'll see. I'm the future is so bright, and if we get Magical Express, I mean, we got that. I don't know if you want, we don't have to talk about it, but the bag system that's been tested out, like we've gotten that back, so maybe that'll keep expanding, and that'll lead to Magical Express coming back. We'll see.
Yeah, I sure hope so. And speaking of villains, sort of kind of in that genre for our final topic tonight, I thought I'm going to share my screen that this actually comes from Theme
Mm.
Park IQ on Twitter, but just today at the time of this recording, Disney has finally released when Oogie Boogie Bash tickets will go on sale. It'll be for a limited number of Inspire key holders on June 24th. Then it'll be for all Magic key holders on the 25th, and then it'll be open to general public and basically everybody on June 26th. So it's great to see that they'll actually now have um, tickets, for because this will be Abby's first time going to Oogie Boogie Bash, so I would really wanted to kind of show her it. But I'm very curious to see what the price value for these tickets are, especially since um, it kind of looks like it's basically going to be the same
Yeah.
uh, as last year. And this is what I wanted to bring up because with the maps here, now they kind of break it down into two pieces.
And now,
So
really quick, George, while you bring this map up, we've never gotten a map like this, right? I mean, I cannot remember ever getting this for Oogie Boogie Bash. This is brand new.
this is brand new. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought.
they never done this before. Usually they usually give us like a teaser trailer, so to speak,
Right. Of
of
some of
like
the new villains, yes.
yeah, but they never kind of gave us like a map layout of like what to expect.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool. I mean, I hope we get to analyze this because I was looking at it for like 30 minutes today, and I didn't even get to like see all that I wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this first piece right here, this is kind of the left part of DCA, so you can kind of see, they have the decorated for on Buena Vista Street with
Yeah, you got
Carson Circle.
Monstropolis there, or Monsters Inc. still down there. Okay,
Yeah,
let's go.
yeah. See, I love that how they kind of like threw that in there because that's
Yeah,
like completely random. Like
it
it's
is
like
random. It doesn't even need to be there. They just did it for fun.
yeah, or almost like to say, yeah, it is closing, folks, but don't worry, it'll be open for Oogie Boogie Bash.
For the last time. Yep. Maybe,
Uh,
hey, honestly, maybe that's one of their advertising tools.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah,
last times
yeah.
you can
You
write
never
it.
know. And then, of course, you have Mission Breakout, which obviously they'll have the monsters after dark.
Yep.
And then you have like the pieces of candy, which is basically it showcases for the treat trails.
Right.
But then you also have the villains here, so you can kind of see you have Ernesto de la Cruz
Yep.
that is back. You
So,
have
George, I missed the last 2 years. My son was born early, so we had tickets the last 2 years and had to cancel last minute. Ernesto used to be over by like in the main part of the park. Is this his new spot? Was he here last year?
This is his new spot that they moved him. They never had him they never had him over this far left before. They more so had him more closer. They kind of had him like in that little like bank, like I'm trying to remember the exact location, but
Yeah,
yeah,
in that like small area where there used to be like a fast pass, I think, fast pass kiosk, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is his new location, and
So do we
then
think that's going to be in the to the right of the Hyperion Theater, like where their staging area is?
yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
That's where the Deadpool show was as well.
Right. And
Okay.
then they have Hades here. He's back, which I'm very glad that they brought him back because
Hmm.
the costume for me, I think, is very authentic of how
Yes.
it goes from blue and red, depending on if you like mention Hercules. Our good mutual friend Karik, he had a field day with
Yeah.
Hades because I got to watch him, and we both know how much he loves Hercules. So
Yep.
the fact that he was dressed as Hercules and he got to interact with Hades, I mean, that was just
That's
that was.
incredible. Yeah, he's the Hercules super fan, and he had a great costume. You were there with him, George?
I wasn't there. No, I got to see a little video thing that he posted on social media.
Oh, I
But I
see.
did I
Okay.
did bump into him during '90s night,
Oh,
and
awesome.
yeah,
Great.
so I got to talk to him a little bit, and it was like really cool, like with Hercules and everything, how you were dressed, and it was like,
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
love
Yeah,
that.
he's the Hercules fan, so we know that he'll be doing this. And now this is at that theater that we were talking about earlier. That's right across from Monstropolis, right? Cruella Deville used to be there, if I remember right.
Yes, yeah, Corella
Yeah,
Deville used to be there when they were promoting the movie Corella,
the live
which
action.
they
Yeah,
never really brought her back. It was just kind of like, well, they had her as like a kind of like a meet and greet thing that they utilized. OG and I did the tour guide that
hmm
was part of the Oogie Boogie Bash, and they had like a separate kind of meet and greet with her. But then that was it. Like they
I'm
never.
bummed because she honestly was a really cool character, and my wife's a fashion designer, so she absolutely loved how they had like the actual costumes like on stage with her. I thought it was a really cool one, but Hades is also incredible, so I'm not complaining here.
Yes, absolutely. And then of course you have like the master of ceremonies. You have Oogie Boogie himself, which he's always in the building, right down off of uh, Hollywood Land. You
Yeah,
know,
animation court, animation something academy,
yeah,
animation
the
academy.
the Animation Academy
Yep.
building. Which again, I'm very curious because if this all changes because of Pandora, what becomes the layout of Oogie
Yeah.
Boogie?
I feel
That's
like that animation academy might stay for a while, and I think that that might have already been close to confirmed. And honestly, we're talking here about like new characters and how important new characters are, but Oogie Boogie is one of those. He's been there from the start, but he is absolutely incredible. Like just because he's not new doesn't mean he's not one of the coolest like characters. Like just interacting and watching him like in person is just really impressive.
and I feel like like the Halloween party fits so well in DCA because
Yeah.
it gives you that little bit of like extra edge that you can do that
Yeah,
you
a little
can't
bit
really
more
do at
spooky. Yeah,
Disneyland.
like I don't think he's coming back, but last year you had Sid, who was just like roasting guests, and it's like, okay, that's probably a little too much for Disneyland, but at DCA it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have three villains. Again, you have Yokai over at San Francisco, which is okay. I think obviously if you're going to have a villain character trick or treat trail over at San Francisco, you have to have Yokai.
And
It's
yeah, last year his first year, is that right?
um no, I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay, and then you have Doofenshmirtz down there as well, and he was new last year.
He was new last year. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I could see why they brought him back, especially like with the promotion marketing of Phineas and Ferb getting a
Right,
brand new season and everything. So
right.
I
Maybe they'll
could
fix it
see
a
that.
little bit too. Where is he? Is he in the Disney Junior Theater?
You know what? Because I didn't really have like any desire to go see him, but I was very curious to see like where they placed him. I think he's in.
Because he looks
Yeah, I
awfully
think
close to
you're right. I
Holiday
think
Circle
he is
there.
in the Disney. I think he is in the Disney Junior Theater.
Yeah, because they used to have a show there during the party, and honestly, I'm really bummed they got rid of it. They used to have like an indoor like Mickey and Minnie, or the Fab Five actually, like in like do a Halloween show. So I'm really bummed that's gone, but obviously that's probably a really good location for a treat trail.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have, I believe this is Agatha,
Yeah,
um,
probably
right here,
Avengers Campus. Yep.
which, and again, they probably brought her back because they just now announced, I believe, that they're going to do a season two of
Mm.
Agatha all along. So, they kind of do that cross promotion kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Now,
honestly, she's a really good and easy villain. Like it doesn't require a lot of costuming or makeup, and I think she's a great villain. But I understand that she's not one of the most popular.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with this second piece, which is the right side of the park, this is where I find it a little bit interesting. Now, of course, it does
Yeah.
show like the parade route, so
Yeah.
obviously there is going to be a parade um, this year, and then you have the Villains Grove, which it kind of shows like all the pumpkins and the spooky eyes right there,
Yep.
and then you have Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He's returning.
Yep.
But then you have these, and they kind of showcase like where the parade route is. It kind of gives you like the treat trails, Villains Grove, and then soon to be unleashed, which basically means there's going to be two locations for new villains, but they're not announced yet. And it's going to be right here, one by Grizzly Peak,
Hmm.
and the other is in the Pixar Pier where Sid used to be. Now,
Yep.
um, I'm very curious to see because obviously with a villain up at Pixar Pier, obviously it has to be a villain from Pixar.
Hmm.
Um, and you would more so have to have a voice, you know, like a face character, and a
Yeah, and
lot
it's
of
not going
and
to be Ernesto de la Cruz because he's already in the other side.
exactly. So I was kind of going through like the Pixar catalog of like who they can use, and I've mentioned this a few years now. I think would be a great villain would be Syndrome um, from The Incredibles because you literally have the Incredicoaster right there. Um, and I think honestly, with a lot of like the prosthetics to kind of shape the head with a wig and everything, I think that could kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only problem with Syndrome is that he hasn't been in the cultural zeitgeist, if you will, for a decade. But yeah, I can't think of any better one. So I would be all aboard that. As I said earlier, I was a massive fan of Sid. I would literally like stand there and watch him just roast people for like 30 minutes. They
And
had two
especially,
Sids, and one of the Sids was like literally perfect. So I'm bummed to lose it, but I get they got to replace characters.
yeah, I am too. Actually, Sid was like one of my, I would say actually him and another character that's they removed was Madame Mim.
Yeah, Madam
Um,
M's.
I
Mhm.
thought honestly them two were like my top favorite, but you're right. There was one performer in particular where you almost like had to do like a double take.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh my gosh, like they literally brought him from the screen right into the park. Like,
yeah, agreed.
but
And I
yeah,
will say too, I'm really excited about a lot of these villains, and I think it's cool that they're doing new ones, and I think they need to keep doing new ones. But I will say it's also kind of a bummer to lose some of the classic villains that we had because if you go to back to the first page, basically every villain we're getting is like newer or like more obscure. I mean, Hades is not. Hades is a classic one, but he's new. Dr. Doofenshmirtz is like very obscure. Many people have never seen Phineas and Ferb.
mhm.
Ernesto de la Cruz isn't obscure, but he's new. Like we just got him 3 years ago. And so yeah, we're just losing a lot of the like just like the classic villains that we had. I'm like
That's why I really
the one that
that
used to be in the backside of Grizzly Peak. I forget who it was.
um who was back behind Grizzly Peak?
It was one of the like OG villains, and I just loved having that. It's a bummer to lose the OG ones. Is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciated Disney when they did have Madame Mim because she's a villain that a lot of people like bypass the Sword in the Stone. I
Right.
think honestly, it's the Sword in the Stone is like one of my all time favorite Disney animated movies. To be honest with you,
Hmm.
I think it's completely underrated. But I loved how they incorporated her in there. So the fact that she's gone and Sid,
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see um, who gets in their place.
Right. Yeah. It's a bummer to like just lose the. And then we even had for a couple years or maybe longer we had the villain from Princess and the Frog,
Oh, Dr. Facilier.
Dr.
Yeah.
Facilier, and it's a bummer to lose him. And so obviously they can't just like add 20 characters, and I'm not saying that they should, but it would just be nice if we could just like keep the ones we always have and then also add new ones because it really does suck to lose some of the like good ones.
Because what I would actually do is why not like rotate them? Like maybe
Mm,
for like the first half of the night have Sid and then the second half of the night have another villain.
yep. Yep. That'd be awesome. Maleficent, by the way, is the answer of who they had back there. That's
Mm.
another one that I'm really sad to lose. So yeah, I mean, rotating them would be really, really smart. It's a bummer they can't do that. And we used to have the evil queen too, and no more evil queen. So Yeah, just a bummer. I don't want to complain because I'm excited to get all these new ones, but yeah, it's you wish you could have best of both worlds somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. But Shaun, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. As I said to you before we started recording, you're actually my first guest in studio for Citrico Central, and I was so glad that I was able to get you on, and we could have dived deep into everything on the horizon with the parks. And as we were talking about this at the very beginning of the show, is again of what the title is it's a great time to be a theme park enthusiast for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, George. And I hope you keep doing these series with other guests. And because this is just an amazing series that needs to be talked about more because it's so easy to just think of what's the new next shiny thing. But what we've gotten in the last 5-10 years is just beyond the imagination. And we're only going to get better and better. So, really exciting stuff. I loved being on the show. And yeah, thanks for having me. And if anyone wants to follow me, Twitter is the number one spot that I'm on the most. I'm also on Instagram and YouTube, all the same, Ranking the Mouse. I used to be on YouTube often, but now I'm too busy watching Citrico Central and Orange Grove 55 and Theme Park Wizard and Drew the Disney Dude and, DSNY Newscast and all these. So I replaced me posting videos with just watching other people. So unfortunately, I don't post too much, but you can still find me on Twitter and Instagram and we can talk there.
Absolutely. And before we get out of here, to kind of commemorate of like what your YouTube is like ranking a lot of the stuff of everything. So before we to close it out, I think it would be the best way if you can rank what your top project that you're looking forward to out of everything that we
Ooh,
discussed, what would it be?
I love that, George. I'll do like a top 3 here just so I can get an actual ranking. That's really great. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and bring up the tweet I had the other day because that tweet I did some research on and was basically every like major project that we're getting in the next, I think it was like 4 years. So I'm going to bring that up really quick. It's kind of cheating, but that way I can know that I'm not missing like an obvious one. Before I bring it up, I think probably off the top of my head, Tropical Americas is probably going to be number one. Just because, like we talked about already, I feel like that checks every box. And as a thrill fan, but also a dark ride fan, I feel like I'm getting everything I want there. And Animal Kingdom just needs flat rides and it needs dark rides, and it's getting both of those. So, okay, here's the tweet. So I would say Tropical Americas is number one. I think for 2, this is a shock, but I think I'm gonna go Coco Boat Ride. It's only
Okay.
one ride, and so I kind of feel like maybe some lands should replace it. But Coco is so important to like my family, and like Mexican culture is so important to the Disneyland Resort. And on top of that, like a new dark ride is what that park really needs, especially losing Monsters Inc. So I just think that ride is too important. And George, you and me were 2 of the ones that have been talking about Coco coming to DCA for like 8 years. I remember watching one of your videos, like when on your old channel, Disney Family Man, about this. And I've been saying it on Twitter for like 7 years that like it would just be too perfect to build that in Paradise Gardens Park because it expands Pixar Pier and it's an IP that park needs. So just how important that is, George. I think that's number 2. And then 3, I would probably go. Oh, I'm between either Avatar and DCA or Villains Land. I'll go Villains Land because it's a whole land and that's like going to be freaking cool. But I want to give an honorable mention shout out to Avatar. I'm really excited for that. I'm obviously excited for Monstropolis, so it sucks to not include that, but that's up there. Piston Peak, I'm excited for. All those. Walt Animatronic, as of the recording of this, we're about a month away from seeing that. So that was not a good ranking because I gave you like 6 of them, but Tropical
Well,
America.
no, that's actually a good ranking because basically you still kind of incorporated everything.
That's true. Yeah.
And you kind of like threw it in there like of where everything kind of lays. But I think like no matter how you roll the dice, no pun intended for Oogie Boogie, but again, just like I think overall, I think you could agree with me on this that no matter what we get in the next 5 years, it's an exciting time, and this is just the first 5 years.
Right.
We still have another 5 years because Disney promised us a 10-year multi-billion-dollar investment.
Yep. Yep.
with the parks. So,
Yep.
and not even there. That's just this 10 years with this investment. Who's to say like to infinity and beyond after
Amen.
that? And it's like,
Amen. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we have Disneyland Forward, which is going to be, 20 years of expansion. And then you have the fact that Universal is finally making Hollywood into a resort. So, I could have included the Fast and Furious roller coaster, the hotel that's going to be coming there, whatever they do with the lower lot expansion. Then obviously Universal Orlando is going crazy with their third park and expanding there. And that park has got a lot of room for expansion that I can't wait for. You got Universal overseas and UK, and you got, all these new Disney parks and Disneyland's coming up. Universal Kids Resort in Texas, I can't wait for. And then obviously Walt Disney World is going to just supercharge their expansion. So it's super cliche with the title of your video, George, but I could not be more excited right now to be a theme park fan. I don't see how anyone can be negative right now with how much we're getting.
and that's what's so frustrating is there is people out there that are. It's like, what more do you want? Like, I mean, we're getting literally the golden plate handed to us
Yeah.
on a platter of all this stuff. And I'm excited even for everything that you just mentioned, even on the Universal side. Epic Universe just opened. We're getting a UK park. We're getting the kids park in Texas. And not only am I excited to just experience it, but this is also going to be great content for my channel. And it's
Right.
like, to be able to share that with everybody and go on all these adventures, it's like, I can't wait for all of it. The sky's the limit.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to follow you and Abby along as you guys go explore it all. It seems like you guys are able to hit every park in the world. So I'm following you guys. You guys have already hit all the SoCal parks, right? SeaWorld, and you guys did Knott's recently, and obviously Universal and Disney. So super exciting times.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, definitely for everyone watching, please check out Citrico Central of all the videos and the live streams that I've put out already. But there's a lot more on the horizon. So please like, subscribe, smash that notification bell. And as I always say in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.